Hi guys, my name is Itimi and you're welcome to another episode of Founders Connect. On Founders Connect, I have conversations with amazing entrepreneurs and operators in the African tech ecosystem. Today I'm in Nairobi and I'm having a conversation with Duncan. Duncan has an extensive career, right? He was an advisor at Sisters for 3 years, so that actually caught my attention because, Sisters are my baby. He was the East African director for Antler. Right, he was the managing director for Jumia Group for 5 years. Now he's the principal at Unicorn Growth Capital, where they invest in early stage fintech startups. He's amazing, right? VC operator. There's a lot to learn from this conversation. So please make sure that you stay and watch this video to the end, and maybe just even share it to someone and say, "Hey, I'm about to watch an interesting video. You should definitely watch it with me as well." But here, let's go.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Itimi, a change maker, professional, and creative who is passionate about growing people and growing businesses. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and please always share my videos. It promises to always be impactful and insightful.
Hi, Duncan.
Hi, Peace.
I'm good. How are you doing this morning?
Very well.
I'm very excited to hear your story.
Well, I'm actually very, very thankful that you reached out, and
nice.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to Nairobi as well.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to enjoying the city. I've heard a lot of good things. So.
I'm looking forward to the review afterwards.
You can plug me in and say, "Hey, better go there or go here," so that.
Talk to me. This is my city.
All right, cool. So, I mean, you've come a long way, right? But before we start going into all the different amazing things you've done on the companies you've worked with, tell me a bit about your background. I know that you're from here. You grew up here. What was growing up like for you?
I'm born and raised in Nairobi. This is my hometown, and I went to school here as well. From my early childhood to high school, just never left Nairobi, to be honest.
Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here, and even university. So I studied electronic computer engineering. I've always been a techie since day one. I kind of knew what I wanted to do since I was 9 years old. I always knew that if a computer was in front of me, I think I was good. That was it. As soon as I saw my first computer, that's what my mom says. So as soon as I first saw my first computer, she exactly knew this man will spend all his life in front of this machine.
Oh.
Yeah, so I studied electronic computer engineering for my undergrad here in Kenya, a university called Jomo Kenyatta University for Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT. After that, and I had some very interesting experience as I was an undergrad student. So I did a couple of internships. But they were very technical internships. And just to give you a real case of what happened, I was responsible for laying fiber optic cable and laying broadband internet across Nairobi estates.
Wow.
So I think have been to almost each and every apartment in this region, laying fiber optic cable, and this is a long time ago, 15 plus years ago. So
literally laying the infrastructure for
laying the infrastructure. That's where we started.
Literally.
That's where it started. Yeah. And it could go back. Initially it was wireless broadband, and then now fiber optic came in. I was there, crimping and installing, making sure there's infrastructure laid. Yeah. But interestingly, no one knew exactly what was going to happen. I was like, "Oh, we have internet in the house."
But
okay, so what?
Yeah.
We all used to go to cyber cafes before that. But then I started to see things happening with people doing things with the internet. To give you an example of what people used to do with the internet then is download movies, put them on DVDs, and sell them. Guess what I did? Of course, I got into the business. Yeah, of course. I said, getting good content and selling to my friends. And that was kind of my entrepreneurial journey. And that's how I started my entrepreneurial experience within the tech scene. And then fast forward, what happened with that infrastructure, then now, people started supplying internet, TV, now it had streaming. And then you also had IP, VoIP in your house. So you no longer really needed to rely on your telco and all that. So those were my technical experiences during undergrad. But then I felt, I'm not sure I want to do this technical thing as an engineer for the rest of my life, and got curious about business side. Because some of the companies I used to work for, they're really small businesses, just starting up. And I was really curious, the people who remain in the office, what are they doing? I'm out in the field, doing a lot of hard work. And then it so happened that I was really curious about finance and accounting. Okay. So one time... and
how did that curiosity for finance and accounting come about?
I think... I loved accounting from when I was in high school. Business was always the easiest subject for me. So even after high school, I went and studied for a professional accounting course.
Okay.
Yeah, I studied my CPAs. So I thought, maybe this is the path to go. But, after a couple of, maybe, I think I lasted a year.
You're like, no, back to engineering.
Yeah, no, I think I want my technical business. So I had that bit of background, right? So what happened once was like the accountant at the company I was working for was going on study leave. So the finance director was like, Duncan, I saw your CV and I think you've done some CPA. I was like, yeah. Do you mind holding on for like a couple of weeks?
Oh, okay.
While she's going on study leave? I was like, yes, of course. I would love to work in the office and not go to the field. That's what I did. And guess what? I never left the office since that day. I worked very closely with that finance.
So you literally were doing engineering, and then somebody needed, let's get someone to handle this, and you do the accounting, and that's how you stopped doing engineering.
Yes. I was like, you know what? I'm no longer the technical guy going to the field.
I'm the math guy.
I'm the math guy now. I'm on the computer. I'm doing my finance things, preparing for the finance director reports every day, and I love the experience. He was a really, really good mentor for me. He was called Mr. Toshi Real, and Mr. Toshi was so fundamental in like how my life, because he actually gave me my first golf bag. I'm also a golfer. Like I started playing golf when I was like maybe 20 years old. I try to. I don't have much time though. That's a problem. You need a lot of time to be able to be consistent on golf. But I don't play so much anymore. But when I do, like it's a lot of fun. So he gave me a first golf bag and really mentored me in like finance and really got me curious about running a business. So by the time I was finishing my undergrad in engineering degree, I already knew I am not going to do anything else. I want to study business. I want to study finance.
Right. So
as soon as I finished my undergrad, shipped off to the UK to study my master's in finance.
Wow, that's a very interesting when they go into finance and accounting.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you spent like a year, 2 years in your master's in UK.
Yeah. So I studied for about a year doing my master's, and then so at that point in time, to be honest, I was really young. I didn't even really know what I wanted to do, but my idea was once you study finance, you could probably end up in London in the city, doing investment banking, like all the big boys. So I thought, okay, maybe this is the path for me. But as life turns out, no, maybe that was not a path for me because this was soon after the financial crisis.
Right.
So no, man, like there was no one hiring.
So you moved back here?
Yeah, there was no one hiring in London.
A quick question before we talk about what you did when you moved here. Was it difficult getting like admission to study finance? Because your background was science, core science. Mm-hmm. So how was it like? Like were there specific things that you had to do that made it easier for you to get the admission?
So I specifically chose a program that could allow, that was taking in people from different backgrounds, right? So it was not like, I needed to prepare for anything. Like it's just, they gave us the foundation from day one, right? And actually, it was more of like a triple. It was like more of a management degree because it was involving finance, accounting, and management. So I wanted like a really
broad stuff.
Yes,
that just
exactly,
gives you insight into the entire
and when I think about it now, even for my undergrad, I could not just settle for one thing. I went for electronic computer engineering. So for my master's, I went for finance, accounting, and management.
Okay, makes sense. So when you moved back to Nairobi, what was it? I mean, when you were in London, when in UK, you're like, oh, you want to do like the whole corporate world. That didn't happen. So when you go back here, was that like, oh, let me dive into the corporate world as well?
Yes, so look, I came back home and I had a couple of ideas of what I wanted to do. I thought, okay, maybe I go into banking, maybe I go into, technology. I had a couple of ideas, but I really didn't know what I wanted to settle on. But, I believe that, look, I already had my education, I already had my degrees. I knew life was going to be fine. I just didn't know exactly what it was going to be. But there's something about my life that I firmly believe in, which is serendipity. And so what happened, a few days after I came back to Nairobi, I was moving around Nairobi city, town, just walking around. And an afternoon, I met a high school classmate. I had not seen him for 5 years, but we were really good friends. And we were geeks in high school. And, we used to spend all our time in the computer lab. So I met him, and he was called David Nkugi. I'll definitely mention his name. So I met David Nkugi randomly in town, and I said, David, I've not seen you for 5 years. What's up? What's going on? What's good? Tell me, what are you building right now?
Because you knew he was going to be doing something.
I 100%, I knew for sure David was definitely building something. He was like, oh my God, I should definitely show what I'm building right now. It's so cool. And so we started talking about tech. Like 5 years not passed. We just caught up like that. And he was like, oh my God, the tech scene in Nairobi, this is about 2012. He was like, the tech scene in Nairobi is starting to get really busy. We just set up the iHub. So David was like the people who really, like literally just lay the floor. They were like there, just, they literally lay the floor. And he said, look, man, I need to introduce you to the scene, and I need you to see what is going on in Nairobi. And obviously, I had been following during my time in the UK. I had been seeing what's going on. I'd been seeing people meeting at the iHub, looking really cool, stuff that's happening. And so he said, look, what are you doing tomorrow? I think it was on a Thursday. I said, I'm chill, man. I just came back from the UK. I have no plan. So I met David the next day, and he took me to the iHub. This is in Ngong Road, just down the road. And he told me, so he started introducing me to people. Introduced me to the founders there, the people just hanging out, and everyone was building cool products. I was like, wow, what's going on in Nairobi? This is amazing. Remember, I was like a tech, I was an engineer. There was nothing going on, to be honest. Back then, people are just doing random stuff with SMSs and all that. But now, people are actually building really cool stuff. And then he introduced me to the founder of iHub called Eric Hausman. So Eric told me, he was very excited. He was like, oh, Duncan, nice to meet you and all that. And you have a very interesting background, technical background, business now degree. Yeah, exactly. We don't get a lot of business people here.
Yeah.
So back then, only techies used to hang out around the iHub building really cool stuff. He was like, you know what? We've done a really good job bringing the community together. But right now, man, people are just building cool stuff. There's no one building businesses. We need to build businesses out of these really cool products. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. What is it? So I started having a conversation, engaging. He was like, you just need people to go and sell. People who understand finance, people who understand the business side of this. I was like, okay, now I
can see myself playing.
This is what they need. Okay, I'm gonna find something that I'm useful for. And so after the many introductions, he introduced me to a new investor who had just come into town and was launching the first kind of accelerator in Nairobi called 88 MPH. He was called Creston. So he introduced me to Creston, and Creston was setting up this accelerator, 88 MPH. He was trying to get the first cohort. And I thought, look, they're taking, people want to build businesses now. This is the time, amazing products are being built. Let's build businesses. So I started hanging around with Creston and hanging around 88 MPH. And when they're ready for the first cohort, guess who was the founder? I was right there with the fintech business.
Tell me about the fintech business. First of all, by the way, right, I like the way you call the names of people that have sort of made an impact to you, milestones. I think it's very good to recognize those people because one of the things I believe in is that we are all a product of people that we've met at different points in our life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that I really as you mentioned names, oh, this is really cool. I like it.
I have to mention names because, like I told you, in my career, it is great, obviously, but serendipity is perhaps, has contributed a lot. And I learned a long time ago that, look, your networks are going to contribute a lot to your, career, your life, right? So from day one, I formed really, really good relationships. And I'm always very, very conscious to form really good relationships with the people that I meet. And so, I founded a fintech business. And let me tell you about the business. So paying rent in Nairobi, even today, is a bit hectic. You have to go to the bank, you have to deposit your cash, get a result, get a slip, the bank slip, and then you have to take to your landlord that slip. And then the landlord records, the statement, and then he gives you a receipt. That's the only way the landlord or the agent wants to make sure that, look, you've paid your rent. So if you imagine Nairobi and you've heard about the city, this is a hectic city, moving around is hectic. So that is at least half of your day. So we thought, mobile money has just started coming up, and why can't we do this with mobile money? We don't need to go to the bank anymore. So we came up with this platform where agents and landlords could manage a lot of their properties, and then their tenants could pay for rent using mobile money, and everything was automated. You got a reminder a few days before. You got an automated receipt when you paid your rent, and then the landlord could see as payments come in, their bank account and all that. So, that's exactly what you were trying to solve because it was a real problem. And then we believed, look, if we can be able to actually collect rent that's a significant transaction of a household. What else can you do with that house?
Almost everybody did that. Yeah.
Kenya has about 12 million households. So we thought, if we can be able to bank just tenants, this is a massive opportunity. We can be able to provide financial services. I mean, think about it. Insurance, home insurance, this is perfect. Work loans, for example. You can even give advances for rent.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you had an advance for your rent? Life would be so good. I mean, yeah.
Parents now.
Yeah, pay rent now, pay later. Right, so we thought, there's a world of opportunity for this, and so that's a business that we launched, and we actually raised $100,000 from angel investors, and they were actually local angel investors.
And what year was this?
2012. Wow. No one had done this before.
Yeah.
When I think about it, and I would definitely like to obviously shout out the first angel investors who took a bet on like my 25-year-old self with these dreams, because you have to be audacious and just go out there and sell a dream. And now when I look back, because now I'm on the investor side, I'm like, okay, you know what? That was pretty impressive, because I would pitch to these angel investors like, yeah, Duncan, you know what? Here's $10,000. Go do whatever you want to do. That is incredible. And now we're starting to see a lot of angel investments as well. And I've done, I do angel investments as well. And I would definitely encourage, like, if you want to empower the next generation, please,
give them some money.
Give them some money. Let them experiment. Let them, kind of. And look, a lot of those. That's how you build a community. That's how you build an ecosystem. So we raised some money, and it was a very exciting experience, because it was the first time as a founder raising, meeting investors. Like, it was a steep learning curve, but then you got all the tools that you needed. Like, there was a lot of support. The ecosystem was really young, so everyone was very eager. I remember our demo day. Like, the vibe was amazing. People had not seen this before. Because before that, what used to happen was like competitions, right? People winning grants, $20,000, $10,000, and then you spend the money and it's done. So right now, people are actually raising money for equity. So that was a big difference. Yeah.
It's amazing. So after raising $100,000, how did the company go?
Well, you know what? That was one of my first expensive lessons. But you know
expensive,
what?
$100,000 worth lesson.
Yeah, worth lesson, man. Because we were too eager to scale. We had obviously built the platform, but then we did not have. We were very young and very naive as well.
And did you have co-founders at the time?
Yeah, I had a co-founder. Who was a technical person. He was the technical brains behind the platform and everything, and I was the brains behind the business and finance and raising money and all that. So we were too eager, and what we did, we at some point we were out there. I was, pitching to bank CIOs, CTOs, and telling them, look, this is what we need in your platform. In 2012, no bank had ever heard of opening up their APIs. Oh my goodness! One time I went to one of the largest banks in Kenya, and we were talking to the CTO and telling him how we need them to open up their platform for us to get APIs and all that. He was like, "Are you kidding me? You want us to open the bank for you? The ecosystem? That's actually, are you mad?" Yeah. So, fast forward now, everyone cannot wait. Everyone cannot wait to open up the banking platform, right? So, we approached one of the telcos here, and we wanted to partner up with them, and so, we unfortunately laid down all our business too early. With a partner who was not on our side, to be honest. We were not aligned on what the goals were. So unfortunately, that partnership did not work, and what actually ended up happening is the telco ended up launching the product.
So the laundry is somebody launches your food startup as a feature.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's so sad, because we saw it on the papers, but nothing has ever happened with that.
Right.
It was all for PR, and so obviously someone internally who got promoted. I hope so.
So I hope so. And so when that happened, what did you guys do next? Is that how the company folded or failed? How did you wrap it up at least before you moved to the next thing?
After that, it was the company becomes very difficult to run, because now what's your go-to market? The partners that you actually wanted to have on board. You can't. And so you think of pivots and all that, and So to be honest with you, I intentionally returned money to the investors.
All of it, or at least what was left?
All of it.
Wow. Wow. So does that mean that you guys didn't spend at all, or you had to?
Do you know, I didn't earn a salary for the year that I ran that business. Not a single cent.
Wow.
I mean, as a startup founder, you obviously wanna have skin in the game, and I would not be in the ecosystem today had I spent that money or just run away the money. That's I had a fiduciary duty, and so I intentionally returned the money because I knew I wanted to build a career.
And you needed the integrity. You needed that.
It is very, very
backup still.
Yeah, look, like I cannot overemphasize how important integrity is to me and has always been to me from day one. And I knew very well if you mess this up now,
there might never be another.
There may not be, exactly.
Yeah.
So you might as well just end your career there. So right. So because I actually did that, I was able to get the same investors to invest in my next business.
Okay, and was that what you did immediately after?
Yeah, so immediately after, you pick yourself up. You pick yourself and dust yourself up. And so I launched the first taxi hailing app in Nairobi. So, obviously.
What was it called?
It was called Zapa Cab. So obviously we were looking around and seeing what's going on in the world. Uber was just like starting to scale. I was like, okay, you know what? By the time they come to Africa, you're gonna be already on the ground, already upscaled. This is an easy acquisition to have.
Okay.
So we were operating in 3 cities at that time, Zapa Cab. So out of Cape Town, Joburg, Nairobi.
Okay.
And there's something about technology and timing. If you get the timing wrong, that it could literally be a matter of months or even a matter of like a year. But then if you get the timing wrong, that's it. And that's what we did. We unfortunately got the timing wrong. And I'll tell you.
And so was it then starting too early?
Yeah. And not, you'd think it's too early, like 5 or 10 years early. No, this was maybe 18 months, just a bit too early. Because then, to give you an example, just to give you real cases, we used to buy smartphones for our drivers. Our drivers had never owned a single smartphone. So we had to train them how to use a smartphone. And once they realize the power of smartphone, they don't even understand like what they need to do is for work. They've seen it Facebook, Twitter, like now they see the socials and all that, YouTube. So we had to train them like, look, this is actually this is your work device, and it will give you the rights you need. It will generate revenue for you. And then we also had to buy data for them. They had never bought data in their lives.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the cost of one driver just operating a smartphone and data. And then the customers didn't even have the smartphones to order.
Right.
But then in a matter of like 12, 18 months, when Uber was launching here, drivers already had smartphones, people already had smartphones, data was already a thing. Everyone was already familiar. I don't think Uber ever had to buy a single smartphone for a driver. Never. So it's a matter of timing, and it literally could be 18 months or 12 months.
And yours was how many months?
Ours was literally like 12 months. And then, so obviously we ran out of money very fast. Within 3-4 months, we were like, we hemorrhaged a lot of money. So it's about timing. If you get the timing wrong, you spend more money with no progress, with no traction. Yeah.
Amazing. And so after this startup, what next? Did you decide, to the third business, or was it time to?
Well, at that point, my my family was starting to, get a bit worried.
Did we send you to the UK to do this?
That's my dad. That's exactly. I was like, okay, what's happened here now? We've already spent too much money on your education. You need to figure out what's going on. But also, being in the ecosystem as well, I kind of obviously was looking out in what are the opportunities, where is what is growing around. So I was already talking to the Jumia people because I knew they were coming into the market. Obviously, I was following Rocket Internet, what they're doing in Latin America, in Asia. So as soon as they landed in Nigeria, I was like, okay, I think Rocket Internet is here. I think there's going to be some opportunities. These guys build businesses. They build businesses on a scale. Yeah, this is a factory. And I knew very well, you know what? You definitely need that kind of, you need those kind of experience.
So how did you get a job?
So so at the 88 MPH, one of the people I met, she introduced me to her classmate at LSE, and she's a founder now. She has an amazing business. So she introduced me to her classmate at LSE. Her classmate was called, or is called Joe Falter. So Joel Folter is currently, he runs a grocery delivery company in London, which has scaled really amazingly. But so he was a founder of like HelloFood. I mean, you've obviously heard of HelloFood. So me and Joe started talking, and we were just like, talking remotely on Skype. We would talk on Skype regularly and all that. I'll be curious to know. I was looking for mentors, to be honest. I was just looking for people to know, in networking and all that. And so Joe was like, Duncan, I like what you're doing, and we're scaling now. Jumia is starting to scale out of Nigeria. Do you want to come with us to Ghana? I was like, oh man, I just came back from the UK. Ghana is like too far.
Ghana is too far.
I thought, do you want me to go away again? I was like, no, man. Plus also, I was building my own company and all that. So I was like, okay, let me build my own company first, and then we'll see what happens. So anyway, Joe kept in touch. We kept in touch. And every now and then, he'd reach out like, Duncan, you're opening a new country. What's going on? Do you want to come with us? Depending on what's going on in my life then. Yeah. So one time, he reached out to me and said, Duncan, I'm in Nairobi. I need to have lunch with you tomorrow. And it was at that moment when my startups are not going very well. we were spending it. Yeah. So I said, okay, of course, Joe, I'm coming. I'll meet you for lunch. So I met Joe for lunch, and he said, look, we're opening up somewhere really close to home, Rwanda. Do you want to come with us? Like, and we need you to open us, to open the office in Rwanda. I was like, you know what? I think this is it. This is the opportunity. Rwanda is literally like a few, less than an hour away. Yeah. I had never been to Rwanda. Didn't even know anyone in Rwanda. And so it was on a Thursday, and I said, yeah, I mean, of course, I definitely would love the opportunity. Give me a couple of weeks, sort everything out. And then, I can move in maybe, 4 weeks. So give me a month, at least sort everything out and close everything. He was like, no, Duncan, you don't have a month. I need you to be there next week. I was like, what? It was on a Thursday. Yeah, he was like, yeah, can you be there by Monday? I was like, okay, it's moving too fast. Yeah. It's moving a bit too fast. But anyway, I said, I'll see what I can do. I'll give you feedback. But I think, next week will be possible. I was not going to lose that opportunity. So I went home and I told my mom, look, I am moving to Rwanda next week. And she was like, what? What are you going to do there? I was like, I'm going to start a business. Another one? So at this point in time, she's like, okay.
Not even in Nairobi anymore that you know.
Yes, and now you're going to go to a new place. She's like, okay, you know what, my son? Please, all the blessings. So in 2 days, on Sunday, I landed in Kigali. Didn't know anyone, and I had never been to Rwanda before. And, I started from there. From the airport, meeting people, getting to the city. Luckily, Jumia, and then HelloFood and Jumia had gotten really good partnerships with like telcos.
Right.
So one of our partners
was HelloFood and Jumia Food kind of like under the same subsidiary?
Yeah, it's always been the same company.
Right.
Always been the same company. So then what used to happen at Rocket Internet, right? They would launch multiple businesses. It's a factory. It's a factory. Yeah, you test what sticks, and you move fast. And then at some point you can consolidate. You can, that's what happens in businesses generally. So, they had each and every vertical had a different name. Travel, they had Jovago, they had HelloFood, they had Lamudi, Kaimu. There were so many. It's a factory, my friend. So, every business model, right, let's see if it works. So it was always the same company. And they had really gotten some really good partnerships with telcos. So one of the partners in Rwanda was Tigo. Right. Tigo is like Millicom International. So when I landed there, it was actually a very, very good partnership because I was able to just next day go and meet the Tigo CEO, sit in his office, talk about this new tech business that we could put together and everything. He was like, I like this. This called the marketing person. Is like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is really good for our data business, and all that. And so then I started to see how partnerships can actually help businesses scale. And that has been my MO since then. If you're thinking about launching a business, think about your partners first. Right. Who do you need on your side? Right. Yeah. So Rwanda worked out really well. Rwanda is an amazing, amazing place. It's a small market though, so it's very easy to test out new ideas and scale. But then, of course, being a small market, you can only become so big, right? So for a couple of years, I ran HelloFood there. And then, within that time as well, many other businesses started around Jumia. And then at some point, Rwanda became a really, really good market. And then Joe was like, Duncan, do you want to run the business in Kenya as well? I was like, of course. I go back home.
Another opportunity.
Yes, I want to come back home. And now I'm coming back home, now things have moved on a bit more.
And then you're not the entrepreneur with 2 faith startups anymore.
Yes, no, things have moved a bit more now. Now things are a bit stable, things are starting to work out well. And, when I moved to Kenya, I could see all the opportunity. This is my hometown. I moved to Nairobi. I could see how to just drive this business. I had the relationships. I knew the market very, very well. So as soon as I hit the ground, oh my goodness, I was up and running. I was up up around the city, and within a very short time, Kenya became the leading business across Jumia, and then so Jumia Food. Even up to the point where actually that there's a whole rebranding that happened at Jumia then. So HelloFood became Jumia Food, Jovago became Jumia Travel, and all that. So I was there through all that transition, and we built a really good business, and also really got good partnerships.
Right. So you spent about 5 years in total in Jumia.
Yes.
What would you say were the most important lessons you learned in that 5 years?
Jumia was a very dynamic place, right? You got to do everything and anything you wanted as well. So you could learn. Learning was the most important thing, right? Jumia allowed you to learn if you wanted to learn. It also allowed you to be a leader. That's something that was very, very important. I'd never managed teams until I was at Jumia. And at some point I caught myself like, oh my God, I think I have a team of about 100 people. What's going on, And you also get to learn about yourself, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and all that. So learning was a very important lesson for me at Jumia. And also the experiment, it allowed me to also get into different business models. So at once I was doing e-commerce. And then after e-commerce, I ended up now doing fintech as well.
Like Jumia Pay.
Jumia Pay, right? So Jumia Pay was the last project I did at Jumia. And also, me doing Jumia Pay also gave me ideas for my next, career, whatever I did after that, right? So there's so many lessons as well. At Jumia as well, it's where I got to learn about what investors look for, because it's we would pitch directly to the investors who were looking at Jumia, and so we pitched to everyone. We pitched to Goldman Sachs, we were pitching to Alibaba, we were pitching. So you find yourselves in those
rooms
in rooms, and you have to be, so it teaches you that, right? And it's not a skill you think you have until you need to do it, and you need to be on point, right? So it gave me a lot of that. Those are some of the most important lessons I learned from that.
So just being able to speak to people, know what investors want.
Yes.
Being able to run experiments really fast and just dive into multiple ideas.
Yes.
And then just knowing that it's a continuous learning process.
Especially that experimentation process. At Jumia, you come up with an idea today, you do it tomorrow, it doesn't work.
Move on.
At Jumia, you don't tell me what you want to do. No. Tell me what you did and how it worked.
It's interesting.
It's amazing because you come up with an idea today, you're like, you do it tomorrow. If it doesn't work, it's okay. If it works, let's scale this. Let's go. Yeah.
What would you say you're most proud of, or the top 3 things you're most proud of in that 5 years?
I'll start with the one I'm most profound proud of. So I built a partnership with Pernod Ricard, and we launched a platform called Jumia Party. As you can imagine, Jumia Party is exactly what it is. Jumia Party. Get your party ordered back home. So Pernod Ricard was trying to get in the e-commerce. And, they were ready to spend a lot of money. But then I showed them, look, we do this. This is what we do. We don't need to spend so much money. We can do this on a very lean budget. I think they had a budget of $1 million. I told them, no, man, you don't need $1 million for this. Even with 100,000, you're going to do very well. They're like, what? Yeah. And we went ahead and launched that platform. And they loved it. And we started to scale very fast across Africa. And within months, within 5 countries, same platform. They're like, what? This is amazing. That relationship grew, and Pernod Ricard ended up investing $75 million in Jumia. So that's one of my proudest moments at Jumia. I think also, the second one I definitely mention is the people that I worked with. I worked with amazing teams, and some of the people that I worked with, I met them when they were still in university, like literally second year, third year, internships and all that. And there is people who I, mentored and worked with and coached, and then ended up becoming country managers for the business.
Yeah.
And today they run their own businesses. There's not, when I see that, there's nothing that makes me more proud than that. Yeah, growing people at Jumia was, it was definitely a highlight of my career.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely,
so the top two.
The top two. Let me leave it at that.
These are two profound ones.
Yeah.
It's not even like impacting the next generation on people who impact other people.
Yeah.
And that partnership, I'm still speechless, or rather mind blown. So you talk a lot about partnerships. There's that one, which is your proudest moment. That was number one. But you also just mentioned about how one of the things you learned at Jumia was just partners, and you said, hey, if you want to build a company first, find the people you're going to partner with.
Yes.
What are your, for people who are maybe trying to figure out how to approach partnerships, how to, get people invested in you to enough to drop money or say, let's collaborate an idea. What are your tips for them? Just based on your experience.
Yeah, in Africa especially, we are a relationship-based culture. So you need to form relationships before you need to do business.
Form relationships before you need it.
Yeah, form relationships before you need it, right? And so that's very, very profound. And then when it comes to partnerships, relationships are very important, but then also alignment, right? So a lot of people approach partnerships like, oh, I want you because you have all the customers. So what else do I get from you? So it has to be,
symbiotic.
Symbiotic.
Yeah,
there has to be synergies on both ends.
Yeah.
And so whenever you approach partnerships, you're like, look, this is how this is gonna empower your business. I am coming here to drive your business. I am the partner you need. So you're literally selling.
Yeah.
You're selling yourself and why the partner needs you.
Not just why you need them.
Not why you need them. You know why you need them.
Yeah.
But now you need to convince them why they need you. Right? So that's some of the tips you need to figure out.
Build relationships where you need them, and then go for alignment and see why you'll be put out to partner.
And also most importantly, when it comes to partnerships, a lot of times they fail when it comes to money. So for example, there will be some uneven power there. So one partner has more money, maybe the other one is a startup, maybe, right? So if you can find ways that you can work together, I would not say in kind, but it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Right? So where I don't have to pay you and you don't have to pay me, but there's a way we can both benefit out of this partnership. Right? So that's the way you create partnerships. It's not like, pay me for you to do this, or I pay you. No. It's we do this together and we both benefit.
Yeah,
yes.
It's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about what you've done after Jumia. You've worked at Element, you worked at Antler, and then now you work at Unicorn Capital. So when you left Jumia, did you decide, instead of going to do another startup and fund, let me go into the VC angle or the accelerator angle? Or how did Unicorn Capital and Antler happen?
Yeah, so what happened was, by the time I was leaving Jumia, it was just before the IPO. And you can imagine when I joined 2013, it was a very small company, really. So you can imagine by the time you get to the IPO, it's a really big company.
Yeah.
You have people a lot, but we had thousands and thousands of employees. It's become really bureaucratic. Were you MD for East Africa or just Kenya at that time, or just Rwanda? So the way Jumia was structured then, each and every business had its own MD. Right. So because, like I told you, it was an experiment. This was 6. So each and every business had its own MD, and what that means is you manage your own P&L, your own team, your own revenues, and all that.
Across all the country.
Yeah. If you mess up, they close the business. That's it. Go home. Actually, it's true. If the MD mismanages the business, they close down. Yeah, that's just what used to happen. So I used to manage the business in Kenya. That's Jumia Food in Kenya and Jumia Food in Rwanda as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So back to Antler.
So what happened was, when I was leaving Jumia, it was a big company. I was really, I knew very well I'm a startup guy. I love to work with startups, and I like that very early stage. So I looked for another early stage company, but then so I found a company that was at a Series A stage and was trying to scale across Africa. But the way I ended up at the opportunity was because I identified a problem while at Jumia Pay. So at Jumia Pay, I was building a credit marketplace for merchants. And we were lending, actually, interestingly, we were lending Bitcoins to merchants in 2017 at Jumia.
That's very early.
Very early. So we had a platform where Jumia merchants could borrow And so it was a peer-to-peer kind of borrowing platform where people who were holding crypto around the world, Bitcoins, which was only one then, could now lend their Bitcoins and earn some yield or earn some interest from it. So obviously would convert the Bitcoins to Kenya shillings and all that. And then the good thing about it is the merchants would pay back using their revenues from Jumia. The only issue then was onboarding these merchants was a really hectic thing because the KYC that was required by the platform was German. So they had very different regulations from the Kenyan market. So what we used to do then, I had to go around and do a video recording of the merchant, and so I had to go around Nairobi in their shops and all that, and be like, do the video KYC. So we'll do the video KYC. They would, take their ID and all that. So I was like, okay, wait. I built a loan portfolio of about $2 million in 6 months, but it was so hectic onboarding merchants. I was like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
This is not scalable. This is where it's broken, because if this is what it takes for someone to get a loan, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
And identity is the issue. We don't have an identity infrastructure in Africa that a German company can just plug in, or any company in the world can just plug in. So a friend of mine in Nairobi had just joined this digital identity company in New York. I was like, I reached out to him. He's called Monty. I told Monty, man, I think you're onto something. This is definitely a big, big problem. And in Africa, this is gonna be big. Monty was like, yeah, of course, man. This is what the problem I'm trying to solve. He introduced me to the CEO. And we started talking to the CEO, and he came to Nairobi. Of course, we had dinner. He was like, Duncan, you know the problems we have, and I need you to help us scale Element across Africa. I was like, yeah, man, this is definitely what I want to do. And so I was the first hire in Africa for Element. This is 2018.
Yeah.
So I joined Element and I started going around Africa with my now colleague, Barbara Yai. So that's when I met Barbara Yai.
She's the founding partner for...
Yeah, she's the founding partner for Unicorn Growth, who we work together today with. And so we went around Africa partnering with, financial service, fintech companies, banks. We were trying to educate regulators. We were literally doing the groundwork for digital identity in Africa. And it was a big problem then to solve, but it was a very difficult problem to solve. Governments are not the easiest to work with. So what happened was, all this time I was now involved in Seed Stars. I was helping other entrepreneurs. I was doing this for free as a part of my co-curricula. I was just contributing back to the ecosystem. So I was a judge at a couple of Seed Stars events. I was involved a lot of entrepreneurs, I was helping them just, informally. So when Antler was scaling across the world, because actually the founders of Antler are rocket internet people.
Right.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I like what you guys are doing.
And we worked together before. So
yes, we worked together before. So when they came to Nairobi, they asked around, we need someone to help us, to coach and mentor entrepreneurs and get people to start launch businesses. And,
Your name was popping up.
My name popped up. And that's how I ended up joining Antler. And you know what? I thought, look, this is something I definitely enjoy doing it on the side. I mean, if someone wants to pay me to do it, I think I would definitely be.
Yeah, and so you were East African director. Yeah,
so we recruited entrepreneurs across Africa. We ran Antler East Africa. So Antler East Africa, it has a very unique model where you bring in entrepreneurs who want to leave their corporate jobs and all that, and they want entrepreneurship is hard. Yeah. You need some support. And so it's kind of a soft landing for you because they take you through a program where, for 3 months, actually give you a stipend. So, for those 3 months, you don't have to worry about rent, you don't have to worry about what you're going to eat and all that. Because, entrepreneurs have got to go through so much just to, make their businesses work. So, we really helped entrepreneurs. And it was very interesting because 2019 is when we started to see a lot of people who had just been watching in the corporate side, they're working for telcos, big tech companies. They're like, entrepreneurship looks like a viable venture. And now we actually have programs that help people get there, because finding a way, as you can tell, in the last decade, obviously you've had to bootstrap and figure out your way around. But now if you can get 3 months of intensive coaching and mentoring of all the stuff that I know, I mean, you get to move much faster. So Antler, that's what they did. And we invested in quite a few companies, met amazing entrepreneurs. In fact, now a lot of the entrepreneurs that I'm hanging out with and I'm meeting and we're looking to invest in have probably been through that program before.
Amazing. Amazing. And then of course where you are now, you did good.
It's throughout the entrepreneurship journey, and you start off as a you start off with an idea. So the idea develops, you continue developing the idea, growing the idea, investing in it, researching a bit more, and pitch deck, you're being trained how to be an entrepreneur. Now once the business is a bit older, 6 months, 12 months, you need very different things. Now this is when you need the partnerships, this is when you need the network. This is now, it's no longer about your pitch deck, it's no longer about your idea, it's about your go-to market now. So this is something that I've done a lot. So I thought, now that I've already had experience helping entrepreneurs get off the ground, why don't I get involved now in literally helping them scale? So entrepreneurs who already started a business in Kenya, how can we help them set up in Nigeria? How can we help them set up in South Africa? Like you can tell, my career, I at Jumia especially, I worked at multiple countries, setting up different businesses. So it's the same thing that I want to help businesses do. So my colleague, founding partner, Barbara Yai, who's been in the financial services and investment industry for the longest time. And we had always been talking about what the industry needs and what the ecosystem needs, because now we actually understood the problems much more. And so when she was setting up the fund, obviously we kept in touch all this time, and I said, I definitely would love to help set this up. As always, I love building things from scratch. So the opportunity to build a fund from scratch was, I could not pass on that.
So what are your thoughts generally? Because venture capital, even angel investing, is something that's growing a lot in Africa. Tech started booming, for instance, in Lagos ecosystem or Nigeria ecosystem started booming 5 years ago, 2015, 2016. Now for 2022, it's not just startups that people are doing now. There are a lot more venture capital from there, a lot more syndicates. How is it here in Nairobi, and just your thoughts generally on?
What has happened around Africa is some markets have actually started to see much more traction, and like you just said, Lagos tech scene is different, Nigeria tech scene is very different. So when it comes to investments, and especially early investment, we're starting to see a lot more traction in Nigeria, because people have started to see, these people putting money in Flataway, these people putting some money in early businesses, and now we're starting to see the progress, right? Because before, what used to happen, the likes of Jumia, no one knew exactly where the money came from. It was very, very, no one had any idea where this was going. But now people are starting to see, there were angels. We know where the money came from. We know one person who put in money in Flataway, then one person putting money in some other company, and it's working now. And so now that has started to actually attract more people to do investments. Now, the case in Kenya, unfortunately, we've not seen a lot of that happen. We've not seen companies scale that significantly, and even early investors get a good return. But there's actually a couple of investors who are starting to take the risk. We have maybe 2 family offices that have decided to set up their own venture capital fund, and now I was talking to them yesterday. They have about a portfolio of 33 companies, and because they've also started to see returns. When you take a bet 3 years, 5 years ago, now you're starting to see it,
and then you can now.
Now, I think the situation in Kenya as well. The people with the money, our parents and the older generation. They still don't believe in the tech business as a viable investment, not yet. I don't know if my dad would invest in my company today, but I think it's starting to become real. Yeah, I think today, if I went to him and said, look, this is what you're doing, can you put in some money? He would probably obviously think about it very seriously. So now it's starting to become real in Kenya. In Nigeria, it's grown. It's real and it's working very well. So now in Kenya, it's starting to like stabilize. Companies are now getting to Series A. We're starting to see a couple of breakouts. Yeah, and so I think the Kenyan scene is about to change 100%. The last one, actually maybe the last 1.5, 2 years, we're starting to see angel networks forming. Fantastic. People actually actively trying to do angel investments. This is amazing because this is the beginning of people wanting to take a risk, and they're going to definitely see a massive, massive return. So I think Nigeria is obviously a bit more advanced than what Kenya is. South Africa is South Africa is actually very interesting because this is also, they're actually, I think, at the same time as Kenya as well. People who took a bet a year, 2, 3 years ago, and they've gotten some good return, they're now attracting others. But then you always look up to Nigerian tech.
So at Unicorn Growth Capital, what do you guys look out for the kind of companies that you invest? Yeah,
so at Unicorn Growth Capital, we focus on fintech and now Web3 companies. And
early stage companies.
Early stage, well, when you say early stage, we like to focus on seed to Series A.
Okay.
That means we look for companies that actually have a product market fit, some traction, a good team, and all that, right? They have moved beyond the experimentation phase. Now this is where we want to help them scale. They've identified the problem they're solving, they've identified the market they're going after, and now they have the things in place. They just need help and support scaling. So at Unicorn Growth Capital, we look for fintech companies that are between seed to Series A that have obviously established a product market fit.
Right.
So that in terms of traction, in terms of revenue and all that. Now, the way we look at fintech is actually quite different. We look at fintech as a horizontal rather than a vertical, right? We believe every tech company will be a fintech company, and eventually a Web3 company. Right. So we look at fintech, people who are building fintech infrastructure that matter the industry, people who are building embedded finance across many verticals, people who are building digital financial services for you name it, farmers, healthcare. So we look at fintech more as a horizontal than a vertical. And we like to say we are an operator-led kind of venture capital firm, where all of us have a lot of experience in within the tech industry, and so we want to help entrepreneurs on the ground, right? We want to be with them, opening up new markets. We want to be them forming new partnerships. We want to be them hiring. As soon as we invest in companies, I'm on the ground here, finding their next hires in Nairobi, who are going to be the team. We build the teams here. I'm out here doing the partnerships with them, and all that. So that's how we support companies. And now we are looking at Web3 companies and people who are trying to position themselves for the future. Can you make sure that you build a company that is sustainable beyond the next 1 or 2 years? If you look forward 5, 10 years, is your technology going to be outdated? How can you make sure that you actually are keeping up? So that's, we also look for entrepreneurs who are a bit seasoned as well. That's not to say we don't, sometimes they're first-time entrepreneurs, but in my experience, what has happened is I have found you're probably going to be successful in your second or third try. It could be in your first as well. Sometimes it happens, but then second, third time, this is someone obviously who's been out in the block, many years of experience in the field, so they actually have some expertise. Look, we are not experts. We don't pretend to be experts in everything, but we want definitely to see the founders who actually know their industry very well. Right.
2 questions. I've spoken to a lot of founders for the show, right? And when you're talking about the challenges building a startup, but not a lot of VCs. So I want to know, what are the challenges that is specific to a venture capital fund? And then 2, what has surprised you the most? Because you come from a very extensive operator background, but what has surprised you? I didn't expect that this was going to happen in VC.
When you think about the investors in Africa, a lot of them have been foreign, to be honest. There have been a lot of foreign investors. So this is the first time you're actually starting to see Africans, getting into the investment space and taking an active participation there. Now, the challenge is being a first-time fund manager, trying to build a fund from scratch. It's not as easy. You need a track record. You need to prove that you can actually pick good companies and scale them. But also, I have to say again, it's also the same people who take a risk on companies, are they ready to take a risk on new African fund managers who want to invest and pick entrepreneurs? Because we have the networks on the ground. We are actually on the ground. So it's actually who can take a risk on those. And I think now we're starting to see a bit more of a few managers or a few what I call African funds come up, which is very exciting. But I have to say it's still very challenging when you think about it. Unless, when you think about working in the venture capital world, unless you're very wealthy. Unless you're very wealthy and you do this as a part-time thing, you do it for fun as well. So I don't do it for fun. I'm building a career, so I am not very wealthy. I don't have a family office yet, right? So it's actually trying to prove that. And so those are some of the barriers that first-time African investors are definitely going to face. But also, the market is changing really fast, very, very fast, faster than I could ever imagined. One of the things that surprised me the most has been, when you were reaching out to investors and all that, it used to be, I would say, an investor-led market. They would decide who they pick. Now, what has surprised me the most is we are getting to a point where founders actually know who they want to work with, and they choose very carefully.
So it's the founders-led market now.
Yeah, in the case, it's also found, there's abundance in capital. But you see, capital by itself is not everything. Founders now understand. They're like, okay, I want to work with Duncan because I've worked with him before. I know exactly what Duncan is about. We align, in our goals and all that. It's not just, okay, I want some money. No, it's no longer about that. Now, that has surprised me the most because I did not expect us to get here that fast. And now, I also encourage a lot of founders, look, you have to align yourself with the right kind of capital and the right kind of investors. Who do you want on your team? Who do you want on your board? So now, founders are very, very, very cautious. They're very discerning and they're very cautious about how they build their business. That has surprised me. It's come faster than actually I would have ever imagined. And of course, also something that surprised me as an investor is how fast we have. I've been following the Web3 blockchain space for the last decade. And what has surprised me the most in the last 6 to 12 months is how fast we are moving in terms of adoption of technology.
That's true.
And not just from the entrepreneurial side, regulators and investors.
Even consumer side.
The consumer side, right? So, when I've been following the space, I was like, this is cool technology. It's going to take some time. It's going to come, but it's going to take some time. In the last 6 months to 12 months, it's like, okay, we need this now and we need this now. So that has surprised me, and it's actually put us on our feet. It's put us on our feet to be.
So now even you didn't have to innovate and learn about that space as quickly as consumers and founders are.
Yes. I've been following the space for the longest time, but I've now had to accelerate my learning. You have to, because now, this is what everyone is focusing on. So, again, as an investor, I'm not investing for the past, I'm investing for the future. Right, so I have to identify those opportunities now because if I invest in a company today and in 2 years if the technology is too old, that bet is not a very good one. That's a very big risk to take. So I have to make sure that I can see 5-10 years down the road, and I make sure that the bets I take today and the companies that I invest in today are going to be relevant then. How
does one build a career in VC? Because again, right, with the way tech is going, right, there are a lot of career paths that are opening up that we never would have seen in 10 years, right? When I got into tech, I didn't know that, maybe at some point I'll be an angel investor. And now there are other people who are thinking, I just don't want to, invest my small money. I want to build my funds. I want to do this. Some people, I don't want to be a founder. I want to be an investor. Some they want to be both. Some want to just be So how would you advise someone in this day and age, in 2022, to say, hey, if you are looking to build a career in VC, these are some of the things that you can do to get yourself there?
There's different paths to get there. I have seen people who go through the finance route, they go through investment banking, and then they do a couple of years there, then they do a year in PE, and then they jump into the venture capital world. Kind of quick and quick and fast. But I think if you're going to be very, very valuable, and if you want to build a good career in venture capital, it's really important that you actually get to experience what the founders actually live their life, you know. Living the life of a founder is definitely the best way to build a career in VC because you actually relate very, very well. So getting on the operator side is probably what I would advise anyone wanting to build a career in VC.
Right.
Now, once you get the
But
operator...
being an operator doesn't mean just being a founder, right?
No, it doesn't mean being a founder. No. It doesn't mean being a founder. You could join a team. You know, like, look, building things, you don't have to be the first one doing it. You could build things within a team, right? And so just join a team, you know, find opportunities that, look, you're going to be valuable and you're going to build things. I think that's the most important thing. If you can build within a team or even yourself, you know, if you have the resources, go for it. So that's where I definitely advise to start. And then beyond that, make sure you build a network, right? Relationships again. You have to build a very, very significant network because, just to give you an example, the last couple of years, we've all been locked down in our houses, right? Trying to work away from home. And so I would not have been able to do my career or just, you know, continue working had I not already had a network. There's no conferences, you know, you're not meeting people as regularly as you can. So you need to be able to build a very large network. And you don't build a network when you need something. You build a network before you need something. Right? Yes, you have to build relationships well in advance. And so just explain, like, you know, as a VC, what you need to do is really help your founders connect the dots, right? Because you know who needs what, who's the best partner to have, and they need to be a phone call away. You know, you need to a quick WhatsApp message and things happen. So that's my go-to now. You know, I quickly put people together on an intro on WhatsApp and things happen. So you need to build a relationship before you need anything. And then of course you need a bit of finance background, to be honest, because look, you're actually deploying money and you're trying to return some, return. You're trying to return money to your investors in multiple. So it obviously helps if you understand the finance side of things, right? And then, you know, if you can be helpful to founders, if you can be, you know, have a large network, have a good financial, you know, background or just understanding of finance, then I think you can do very, very well in the venture capital world.
So be an operator, which can be a founder, which can be an employee, but just learn how to build stuff.
Yes, just get in there and learn.
Yeah, build relationships.
Yes.
And then the last one was, wow, that just...
And also just learn fast.
Get finance background, yeah.
And learn fast. The last couple of years, I've probably learned the most in my entire career because, you know, you're coming across very different, you know, business models. Yeah. You're not an expert, but as soon as you come across something, you're like, okay, I need to get my head around this. I need to know the space. I need to understand what's going on around the world and all that. So you need to learn fast. Right. You need to learn fast.
So learn fast. Learn a bit of finance or get a finance background at the very least. Be an operator and then build relationships.
Yes.
That's good. My final question for you. Great career so far. If you could go back to when you just moved back from the UK, is there anything you would change about your career?
Oh wow. I mean, in hindsight, to be honest, I really would not do much different because, like I said, serendipity has played a big part. As you can tell, the relationships of built have contributed.
Getting to the next place,
and you know, I really even can't tell what's going to happen next, right? So, would I do anything differently? I mean, maybe I probably would figure out timing when it comes to launching technology businesses. Yeah. So maybe there, I would probably learn a bit more about timing and all that. But then, look, experience is the best teacher, right? So you learn by doing. So I would not change a thing, to be honest.
Okay, I love that. And I think that's a really awesome way to end the video. And just what you said, that last part, that you learn by doing. Get the experience as much as you want. At some point it compounds and it gets you to where you want to be. Look,
I mean, you could think about being an entrepreneur. You could think about a lot of these things for the longest time. But until you do them, that's the only way you know. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So guys, thank you for watching this video. You learn by doing. Just get all the experiences that you want. Learn very fast. Experiment a lot. That's one of the things you learned at Jumia. Yeah. And just, you know, build relationships. That's one thing that you consistently just kept hitting on. Yeah. And I think that's also a valuable lesson because, like I said, I believe that we are just a
culmination of the people that we meet and experiences that
Absolutely.
we have. So build relationships. Importantly, build those relationships before you need them.
Before you need them.
That's how it comes in handy.
And look, again, our relationships, they go way back from your school life, your high school, your church, your neighborhood, your school, your childhood friends. People abandon their childhood friends. I have had the same friends for 25 plus years. So yes, I
need to go call my high school classmates and say, hey, what's up?
There you go. There you go, right? I mean, when you think about forming relationships, you don't have to start from scratch. You already have a very, very good background. Figure out what your high school mate doing. You're probably not caught up in many years. Just reach out.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Duncan, for this conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this video to the end. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Thank you.